I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. Ooh. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, keep winning, but you only go.
What's going on, guys? Jay Cam back with another video, and today we're going to be reacting to Sunday's NFL divisional games. We had the Eagles and the Rams going at it, and then we also had the Bills and the Ravens going at it. But before we get into it, please make sure to like the video, comment down below anything if you agree or disagree with any of my takes, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for any future NFL content so you can be able to keep up with anything that I start to talk about. So, reacting to this first, on the day on Sunday at 3 o'clock, we had a very snowy game that went down against the Eagles and the Rams. This game was closer. I definitely thought that this was the most likely upset game, but I did end up picking the Eagles for it. Looking at it, Stafford did his thing with 324 and 2 touchdowns. Obviously, Jalen Hurts kind of struggled, but the biggest thing in this game was the trenches that really kind of decided it, because you look at it, the Rams actually did a great job. Chris Shula called up a great game plan. He really did stop that Eagles offense there for a little bit, especially Jalen Hurts, who ended up getting injured a little bit through the game. If you look at it, the Rams actually had 7 sacks with a combined loss of 63 yards, which the Eagles ended up with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis ended up getting 5 sacks. But the Rams defense going into next year is definitely going to be a thing that's going to be scary for most teams, because the Rams defense is mostly first year and rookies, especially on that front seven. And Jared Verse just looks like a monster. He was able to beat Jordan Mailata off the edge and definitely get that pressure to Jalen Hurts. But in the trenches, looking at this here, the run game was definitely the big difference. Not only the Rams got 100 yards, but Saquon Barkley went off. He had 2 pretty much ice clinching touchdowns. He had 205 yards, and those 2 touchdowns, one was a 65-yarder in the first half. The other one was pretty much the nail in the coffin. That was a 78-yard touchdown rush. And he pretty much just bounced it off the edge of the guard and just went straight upfield untouched. And that's really what kind of put it into it. What the issue was, the Rams kind of just fell into a hole offensively. Their defense was doing a great job of kind of containing and holding points off from the Eagles, but the Rams offense really kind of went in a scud there in the third quarter. As you can see here, they got a field goal in there, but they ended up getting a safety as well. But it was mostly the offense just wasn't doing much. Sean McVay in the third quarter didn't really move the chains. They had several 3-and-outs, especially one coming straight out of half. And as the snow really kicked in, it really kind of affected them because they didn't really throw the ball much. They tried to stick with the run game, but they would get 1 for 5 yards, and then on the second down when they would try to run it, they would run it to somewhere side, and they would get like -2 to 3 yards, and then Stafford just wouldn't be able to complete it. So Stafford really didn't. He had numbers, yes, but he really wasn't able to complete it there in like the third and fourth quarter. He didn't really make a really good drive until that last drive of the game, where their defense kind of kept them in it and kept them with an opportunity to be able to go out and potentially even win the game if they were able to convert after that Puka Nacua ball. But the biggest point in this was Kyron Williams' 2 fumbles down here. If you look at it, the Eagles had a couple fumbles, but they actually recovered them back. The biggest points of the game were these 2 actually 3 fumbles that they had. Matthew Stafford had 2, but he only lost 1, and the one that he lost really put the Eagles in a good spot there in the fourth quarter. It put them up by 2 scores, to where they were able to return it and pretty much kick the field goal. And in the second one, Kyron Williams, he was running. He had a good 8-yard gain, and it was as soon as the Rams were kind of starting to get a rhythm, and then as they start to get a rhythm and start to get some pace to go into it and start to actually like build on that to be able to maybe even cut the lead and take the lead to the Eagles, Kyron Williams fumbles the ball away from straight to the Eagles, and they're able to capitalize on that. So really, the trenches combined with the run game of the Eagles to be able just to line up and dominate with Saquon Barkley and 200 yards, that really just puts them over the edge. And then the snow starts coming down, and Stafford starts to struggle with that passing game, and the offense just becomes stagnant in the second half. But moral of the story is Rams defense is going to be very scary next year with that front seven. Jared Verse is going to be a monster. We'll see what the Eagles do next week against Commanders. They split the season series with the Commanders. During the season, but Jalen Hurts was out for one of those. So it really just depends if they're able to run the ball and continue that 200 yards with Saquon. But we're going to be moving on to the next one. Moving on to our second game on the night game, we had Buffalo versus the Ravens, kind of semi-snowy game. In this game, there was definitely a lot of turnovers that hurt the Ravens during this. I definitely thought whoever was going to win this game is going to go on to either make the Super Bowl and even, I think, possibly have a good shot of winning the Super Bowl. But the winner obviously is going on to play the Chiefs in Arrowhead. In this game, the Ravens really kind of just shot themselves in the foot. I really thought if the Bills were going to win this game, Josh Allen was going to have a crazy huge game. But as looking at his stat line, he did make some plays, but looking at this, he didn't really do a whole lot of the carrying that we know of as Josh Allen. He had 127 up in the air and he had 20 on the ground with 2 touchdowns in the red zone. He was definitely a big factor in the red zone with those being able to use his feet to be able to get in that way. One was with the tush push, but they were able to also get the ground game going a little bit with James Cook, 67 yards. So it's kind of what they did last week, where they won against the Broncos. They were able to kind of get that run game going a little bit. They were able to carry that here. But the real reason why this game went the way it did with the Ravens losing was really the turnovers. Lamar Jackson kind of struggled at first in the first half, and honestly, the entire Baltimore Ravens offense struggled in the first half. They would start to get in the rhythm and move the ball, but then they would have some type of turnover. As you can see here, Omar had 254. That was definitely more in the second half. He had most of that. He was playing very well towards the end of the game. And then this here, Derrick Henry had 84 in a touchdown. That was also mostly in the second half. The Bills defense did a great job of containing this a Ravens offense in the first half. I think Derrick Henry had 10 yards or 15-ish yards in the first half. And in the third quarter, he had like 50 yards just in the third quarter. So the Ravens definitely playing the style of wearing them down, wearing them down, wearing them down. And then after you wear them down throughout the game, you're going to definitely start popping off big runs. And that's what happened. In the second half, they really started to control the game. And you got to see a lot of this. But whenever they would start to get momentum and get it over the other half of the field and start to kind of get in scoring position, they would have these fumbles. Lamar had one fumble that was huge at the beginning of the game. He was kind of getting sacked at the quarterback and he just kind of lost control of the ball because of the snow. And then the second one was a big one, Mark Andrews. The Ravens were actually going down to potentially take the lead or to actually potentially tie the game. And Mark Andrew caught a big ball over the middle, about like the 30-yard line, and he actually ends up fumbling it, giving the Bills the ball back, and then they're able to go down and kick a field goal to make it an eight score game. Mark Andrews definitely kind of cost them the game here with a lot of these. If you're looking at it, it was mostly it was mostly the Bills defense just kind of containing the Ravens and the Ravens shooting themselves in the foot and the Bills just capitalizing on that because when they were mostly getting kind of shorter fields and able to kind of drive it 60 to 50 yards based off the turnovers and kind of just capitalize them on them to keep their lead going while the Ravens were having to go 80 yards most of the time. And then once they would get about 40 to 50 yards in their drive, they would turn it over and kind of just shoot their momentum. But at the end, the Ravens actually came out and had a great second half. They started to actually get a feel for it, control the game. But towards the end, they have to get the 2 point conversion to be able to send into overtime. And they should have got it. But Mark Andrews, not only with that fumble earlier in the game, he has a clear 2 point conversion straight in his hands. And all he's got to do is fall in. And it hits him straight in the chest in his hands. And he just drops it. And that leads to the Ravens not having enough timeouts to be able to get the ball back, and it pretty much just ends the game. And the Bills defense, if they can play like that against Mahomes next week, I definitely think that they have a high chance of going to the Super Bowl if nothing crazy happens, with the Chiefs always kind of getting luck to go their way. But that's pretty much the turnovers and kind of starting out slow in the first half with that Baltimore offense really killed them, allowing the Bills just to capitalize on the mistakes that were given and that definitely beneficial field position for Josh Allen to pretty much just take control of. So that's pretty much it. I'll have my predictions for the conference finals later this week. I'll definitely be reacting to those games and the potential Super Bowl matchup. Please make sure to like the video, comment down below if you disagreed or agreed with any of my takes so we have conversations about it. And please make sure to like and subscribe to make sure to keep up with my channel and future NFL content that I will be creating. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, feel like John Morant. Need a triple-double. Told him check the stats. Yeah, I got a couple. I don't drop the ball. Now I never fumble. I'm the MVP. Now I feel like Russell. Feel like John Morant. Need a triple-double. Told him check the stats. Yeah, I got a couple.